If you're starting a Shopify store, one of the first questions you're going to have to answer for yourself is whether you're going to start a general store or a niche store. Now, the common advice is that you should start a general store so you can test out a variety of products, see what works, and then from that branch into a niche store. Now, I've been running Shopify stores for over a year now, and I also consult with various clients about their Shopify stores, and I really disagree with this line of thinking. And in this video, I sort of want to explain to you why I think it's a really bad idea for beginners to start a general store as opposed to a niche store. Alright, so there's a bunch of reasons I'm going to get to in this video, but the primary reason I really think it's a bad idea for beginners to start a general store as opposed to a niche Shopify store is I think people have a misconception about what the primary objective of their first Shopify store should be. And I think this is where the misconception of starting a general store even comes from in the first place. So this is not going to be popular with a lot of you, but the primary objective of your first Shopify store is not to succeed and make money. The primary objective of your first Shopify store is to teach you as much as possible about Shopify and e-commerce. I'll say that again. The primary objective of your first Shopify store is to teach you as much as possible about e-commerce and Shopify. So guys, when you're getting into e-commerce and you're getting into Shopify, what you have to realize is, like anything else, right, you're in competition with the marketplace. And there's people that have been doing this for years and years, right? And if you come into this with zero experience, you're at a distinct disadvantage from those people because you don't have that experience, you don't have that knowledge running a Shopify store. So I'm not saying that it's going to take you years and years to be able to compete with those people. I don't think that's the case. I think that, a realistic timeline would be 6 months. I am saying that you do need to strive to learn as much as you possibly can in those 6 months. So how does the sort of niche versus general store debate fit into this? I think that general stores are a very poor teacher for a lot of parts of e-commerce. So if you look at general stores, there's certain parts of e-commerce that you're not going to be able to practice. It's going to be either very difficult or impossible to practice. Take, for example, a newsletter. If you want to send a newsletter to your customers or to your subscribers, right, and your store has no specific focus, what is that newsletter going to be about? If you want to create content to send to your customers or your subscribers, what is that content going to be about? How are you going to do your branding when your brand is not focused on any specific niche of product? And finally, how are your customers going to see you as an expert in any given niche when you're not focused on any given niche? Those things that I just mentioned, if you look at top performing e-commerce brands, many if not all of them engage in some combination of those things. And the reason they do is because those are great staples of e-commerce. If you contrast this with a niche stores allow you to practice all those things. When we think about running our first Shopify store, we have to see that it's probably not going to be our last Shopify store. And because of that, there are two ways that we can fail in this endeavor, right? The first is failing and learning nothing. And the second is failing and learning a lot and then taking that knowledge and applying it later when we go to start other stores. So the next point I want to make is that general stores make it much harder to convert. You take the same product, you put one product page on a general store, you put another product page on a niche store, and you run ads to both of them. The niche store, assuming they are of the same quality stores and whatnot, the niche store is going to outperform the general store 10 times out of 10. People will see this store is centered around products like this. They have a history of providing these products, and I can trust them that they're going to know how to source their products properly, and they're also somewhat of an expert in the field to be selling this thing. On a general store, people have no such confidence. Keeping your conversion rates as high as possible is very important when you're first starting a Shopify store, specifically because what you have to realize about building and running a Shopify store is it's a decent amount of work, and you're constantly going to need sort of reaffirmations in your discipline and motivation to continue to work and keep up with your store. Keeping those conversion rates as high as possible from, the overall structure of your store is really important, because if you're a beginner, you might be making mistakes in your product copy, you might be making mistakes in the message you're trying to convey with your ads. Why hamstring yourself with the just general, structure of your store, like whether it's a niche store or a general store, right? You want that conversion rate to be high. Trust me, guys, when you make your first few sales, you're going to feel amazing. It's going to feel like everything you've been doing is paying off, and there's proof of concept and whatnot. And I think with the general store, it's just gonna be much harder for you guys to get those first sales. So far I've listed that niche stores make it easier to learn, and they also make it easier to convert. Now, proponents of starting a general store, they're gonna come back at me and say, okay, well, how are you gonna test your products, right? On a general store, that's the biggest thing, is you're able to test a wide variety of products. What if you don't have any products that are winning? And to them, I'll say, I think in entrepreneurship or in business in general, there's people that aren't as familiar with business have this delusion that your product is supremely important, right? And I don't think that's the case, right? I'm not saying that your product isn't important at all, but I think the systems you implement in your business, the way that you market products, is generally much more important than the product itself. Take an e-commerce site like Beard Brand. They sell like razors and like beard conditioner and beard oil and whatnot. There's nothing unique about their products. What's unique about them is the quantity and quality of the content that they produce for the niche, and also the fact that you can see the people that run and work for Beard Brand as experts, right? Because they have glorious beards, and also they have produced a wealth of content. The other thing I'd say is that, every niche has winning product. You have to find those products. And what happens when you find on your general store, you find a really great product, right? And then you decide, okay, I have a really great product, I have a really great set of products. Now I'm going to create a niche store from this. If you haven't practiced all the skills it takes to run a niche store, to really succeed as far as your branding and your message and the content you produce and whatnot, then how are you going to run that store? You're probably going to fail. And you're right back to what I'm urging you to do, which is basically practice the skills of running a niche store, really hammer home those skills, because those are the skills that you really want to be building when it comes to e-commerce. So guys, if you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate it if you gave it a like. The other thing I just really quickly want to tell you guys is right now, until I get 1,000 subscribers, each week I'm giving a free consult to a random one of my subscribers on their Shopify site. If that appeals to you, you have to be subscribed to be eligible for that. Go ahead, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you get notified when my videos come out. And other than that, I'll see you in the next video, guys.